Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are after market close on Tuesday, October 24th. We're going to take a look at T-Mobile today. So T-Mobile has earnings coming up, and it looks like they may have, a strong-ish reaction as, stocks of this size, we'll put strong-ish in parentheses or in air quotes. But, with that, I thought we'd come take a look and see where some trend lines, some potential support and resistance levels might lie in case it does provide an interesting reaction. There's some levels that might present themselves throughout the course of that movement. So here's a up support trend line that's, it's been holding nicely. It is a little bit of potentially either wedging out, depending on, what the next swing looks like, or even sort of flat topping out, maybe even all the way up here. So there's a potential, depending on how it wants to move, like if it wants to run up into this area, you could have this sort of flat top or ascending triangle pattern coming in, and it sort of pushing through the top of there. That could also take shape. This is probably a stronger level here than up here, actually. Yeah. But I think that they're both there. It's just, I would say that one is maybe a little bit stronger. So there's some pretty near in levels, I would say. And if it does sort of swing lower, and if it holds this uptrend support, then, we can come and we could put in sort of a little bit of a lazy wedge in here, because that's, this swing high is not that far off from that swing high. So it would be a little bit more of a lazy wedge than anything else. But we have swing highs and lows here. It's a pretty good level. So it does have nice recent price action because of the motion that it's been putting in with these swings recently, with some flips from support to resistance and vice versa. And so it does have some nice sort of demarcation within the chart of levels that may come into play if it does have a relatively strong movement one way or the other off of earnings. Is that where I want that level? Yeah, it's okay. Okay. I think because of the trauma of the last few years, I'm more prone to putting in extended levels to the downside than to the upside, but I won't go any further than that. 131.28 to the downside. We need to put in some additional levels to the upside here in case it does have a favorable reaction. We can start getting used to that sort of thing again. We'll see. And then sort of a big space in there, but let's see what we might be able to gather. Maybe something right around here, 148. Okay, so these are the levels that, I'm going to watch to see what happens. But to me, one of the most interesting possibilities is any of these sort of areas where you see the yellow uptrend crossing the support and resistance level, right now resistance level if it's to the upside. But if it gets into any of these little wedgy areas, I'll be interested to see if we get a big strong motion out of that. That's one of my favorite setups, and they've been sort of few and far between these days. So at least on the daily chart, but maybe something sort of taking shape there. We'll see. Of course, it could flop and fall through the uptrend support and just it no longer has uptrend support. If that's the case, then I'd come and I'd start looking at these levels to see if there's any support that gets picked up there and what kind of emerges out of that motion. Now on the think or swim study, we see it's situated like right in the center of the channel here. It's sort of what you would anticipate anyway, right? It's moving through a decent range of price, but it is just really sideways for a while. And just kind of pinning itself to the mid-range of the channel. It triggered and fired back here, and it gave it a little bit of a push up and then a push back down. So a little bit of volatility off of that. Nothing like tremendous, but again, a stock like T-Mobile, you might not see something like you would see in something that's deemed more like a growth stock or a smaller cap stock. So that might be sort of like the level of volatility that it has in it. Hey folks, just so you know, you can get these videos early and ad-free. If you click on the description below and become a member, you can make that happen, and I really appreciate the support.
Thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of the video.
But it is interesting that going into earnings, pinning itself to the mid-range of the channel at the moment, and it had to come up to get there, right? So it's had trouble keeping and holding the mid-range of the channel. See several days of resistance here, and then came up and it did grab support in a retest once. On the second retest, though, it lost it and quickly flipped it to resistance, and then just today it's kind of pushing through. And so the question then, to my mind, becomes, well, what does the next candle look like? Or if it's not the next candle, what's the next retest of this support look like? Does it look like this again where it falls through? And right now in a neutral trend because of the motion that we see here, and on the TTM squeeze histogram, you see really just kind of on the baseline through this whole kind of roller coastery motion. And so it is, to me, looking like it may just be kind of waiting for a catalyst such as a response to earnings to make a bigger move. That could, of course, not materialize at all, but it is showing some sort of indications that it's kind of hanging around, just waiting to say, a flood of bulls aren't coming in and a flood of bears aren't coming in, but everyone's just kind of hanging out toward the mid-range of this channel going, let's see what's going to happen with this very near-in catalyst and which way we want to go from there. But the channel is stretched quite strongly to the upside and the downside. You see upper bound of the channel way up here, and the 144s, lower bound is out of our view of the chart at the moment. But it is quite stretched, and this is because of that roller coaster type action. So kind of interested to see. Baseline of the histogram, basically mid-ish range on the RSI, mid-range of the channel. This is a lot of themes there. Mid-range, mid-range, mid-range. Recently reconfirmed the uptrend support, bounced straight off of there, so it's sort of like on the lower tail side of that. So could be something interesting, but again, interesting relative to a stock like T-Mobile. All right, folks, I hope that your trading week is off to a good start, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.